Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news updates, debates and my opinions. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We are on the way to 11,300 subscribers. And when I say on the way, I mean we're nearly there. So if you could actually click subscribe, I would be grateful. And if you could click the like button on the video, that would be fantastic as well. I hope you're all doing well. The Euros is back today. We will be live over on Tifo for the watch-along of France versus Spain pretty much straight after this ends. So down in the description below, the link to Tifo is there. Use the code Rory, R-O-R-Y, full caps, if you're a new user. And I hope to see as many of you there as possible. But we've got Arsenal stuff to talk about in the meantime. And there's loads of you here, which we love to see. Lukey's here. Hyper's here. Rory's descriptive countdown to Calafiori signing in sequential order. Realistic, leading, close, closer, almost, nearly, imminent. Look, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Vlad's here as well. Jakub, Woodsy, Icarus, Ethan Udall, Carter Sampson, Jax Hacks, Pekka, Luke, El Minister, Leeds Gunner, Leo, Truey, Big Chib, Ross Lawman, Devin, King Kai, Hannah, Anubrata, Smithy, and many, many more. So it is good to see you all. Drax, hello Rory, hello chat. Let's forget about today's transfer stories and focus on the fact that New York have just discovered what a wheelie bin is. Yeah, I was baffled by that yesterday. The mayor of New York thinks he's invented the wheelie bin, which is, well, fair play to him. Fair play to him. What a genius. I don't get why Arsenal need to sell to fund the move for Calafiori. Where have you seen that? Where have you seen that, Ross? I don't think we have to sell to fund Calafiori. I don't think that's a thing, unless I've missed something. But what the fuck is a wheelie bin? It's a bin with wheels. Well, do you not have wheelie bins? Like, you know, a bin, like a big bin that you can, like, it's got handles on it and two wheels, and then you can push it around. Ornstein? I didn't see that Ornstein had said that, so maybe that's something I've missed. On Calafiori, though, what I did see from Ornstein, he said Mikel Arteta is a big fan of Ricardo Calafiori, and the player is Arsenal's primary defensive target. Arteta will hope to press ahead with the signing, though he may need to convince others within the club that the deal represents good business. So that's an interesting one. This idea that Arteta might actually have to convince people within the club that it's a good signing. Maybe there are dissenters in the club that don't think it's a good signing. We know this has happened before. This actually happened with David Raya, and the result was that Steve got sacked and we got Raya. So I don't think you can go against Mikel Arteta at the club anymore. I don't think that's a thing. Which suggests that we are still on track to get Calafiori. The Athletics article on Calafiori suggests it's not as close to being signed as Romano is saying. That is true. That is true. The Athletic article does suggest that it's not as close as everyone else is saying. So it's an interesting one. I mean, all of the Italian journalists have been suggesting that it's super close. And it's only really the Athletic that have gone against that. But that being said, nothing has actually progressed yet over the first 2 days of the week. So I feel like concerns that others have might be about his injury record. Can't question his talent. Well, it could be a couple of things. Firstly, it could be his injury record. Secondly, it could be the fact, and I just made a tweet about this, which people have just, because people can't handle anything that isn't absolute positivity, get their knickers in a twist about it. But the point is, if we bring in Calafiori now, prior to selling anyone, we will actually be at the point where we have 7 players that are, or that can play at left back, that are possible left backs. And of those 7, Tomiyasu, Kiwior, Calafiori, Timber are all centre backs, technically. Zinchenko's really a midfielder, and then you've got Tavares and Tierney, who are the 2 that we definitely want to sell. So it's almost quite a bizarre situation to find ourselves in, where we've got 7 potential left backs, and yet you could still argue we don't have an elite outright left back. And that was what people were replying to my tweet about that, saying, you know, well, Ben White wasn't a right back when he joined, and that is true. And I'm not saying that we won't get to the point where we do have an elite left back in Calafiori, but the point is, we have a lot of players that can play the position, and that's an interesting situation. So I could understand if people at the club were turning around to Arteta and saying, well, you've got Tomiyasu, Kiwior, Zinchenko, Timber, Tavares, Tierney, fine, they're going to go. I mean, Tierney's going to be difficult to sell anyway because of the amount of time left on his contract. Tommy has a bad injury record too, so what? Calafiori's the guy, bring him in. Sell Kiwior and Zinni. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I think there are 4 of them that you can actually sell. There aren't many elite left backs in the world. No, that's true. That's true. Teo Hernandez. I really like Nuno Mendes, to be honest. But there aren't many. There aren't many of them. If people don't buy into what Arteta wants by now, it's surprising considering Arsenal have managed to stifle the leaks. Yeah. Agreed. Keep Kiwior. The difficulty with keeping Kiwior is that he's actually in demand. Like, there's genuine demand for Kiwior from multiple clubs in Italy, which makes him the easiest player to sell. I think we'll end up selling Tavares for, I don't know, 8 to 10 million. That one doesn't really bother me. Robinson at Fulham. He's an interesting one. Yeah, Kirkez at Bournemouth is another one. Thoughts on PSG Vitinha? Think he's class? He is class, but there's no way PSG let him go. Very, very good player, but I just couldn't imagine PSG letting him go. It's good business for us. We're able to flip the likes of Kiwior, Zinni, and Tavares for profit. Well, Tavares, I think we'll break even on. Kiwior will make a bit of profit. And Zinchenko, I wouldn't be surprised if we make a loss on him, in all honesty. Ian, thank you very, very much for being a member for 1 month. Sidebar, can I get a collective big ups for the Canadian men's national team? Debut Copa America and playing Argentina in the semi-finals tonight. Oh, Canada. Yeah, shout out to Canada. Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, and many other Canadian men. Fair play to them. I hope they beat Argentina. I hope they do beat Argentina. That'd be great. We can't criticize the club for being bad sellers and then not want to sell in demand players that are surplus to requirements such as Kiwior. Exactly. That is a very, very fair point to make. I'm loving the United fans' overdose on what they're doing this summer. It will all disintegrate by Christmas. I mean, to be fair, United are moving a little bit mad. They've had a bid accepted for Lenny Yoro, even though I think he's going to end up at Real Madrid because that's where he actually wants to go. They've got De Ligt on the go. They've got Branthwaite on the go. Xerxes, Ugarte. Apparently, they might be in for Kadioglu, who has previous, I think Kadioglu's got previous with either Van Nistelrooy or Ten Hag or one of the Dutch ones. So, yeah, I mean, they are moving. Tommy must stay as a backup for right centre-back and right-back. I don't think Tomiyasu is a backup right. I don't think Tomiyasu can come in for Saliba. I think it would be more likely we'd see Calafiori come in for Saliba, if I'm honest, even though it would be on the right-hand side and that wouldn't be favourable for him being left-footed. Will you ever do an England watch-along, even for the friendlies? Well, actually, funnily you say that, I think I might do a watch-along for the England game tomorrow. I might do a watch-along for the England game tomorrow. So, yeah, turns out all of my friends are either on holiday or too committed to working, So, I mean, who the fuck does that? Who does that? Not me. But, yeah. So, I saw something on FotMob about it. Thoughts on the striker we signed? The what now? Who have we signed? We haven't signed a striker. Or is it like a youth player? There's like a 15-year-old that's on a trial at Arsenal at the moment. It would be fantastic if all the United targets said thanks, but no thanks. Well, apparently, De Ligt is like dead set on going to United. So I don't know. Anyway, Gunner Blog did an article today with The Athletic. So these ones are always interesting, right? Because I think it's a large amount of opinion mixed with little bits of what they've heard, right? But he says, Gunner Blog says, if Arsenal are to sign a wide player, Nico Williams is Mikel Arteta's preference. So Nico Williams is Mikel Arteta's preference. Slightly worrying wording of if Arsenal are to sign a wide player. I would rather that was when Arsenal sign a wide player. Because if we go another window without signing a winger, I think that's really problematic. Interesting that the preference is Nico Williams. Now, look, great player, has had a great Euros. Lots of people big fans of him. the issue is, and the price tag's not even bad. The 50 million euro price tag, not a problem. Slightly difficult because it's a Spanish buyout clause and you have to pay them in full. But the issue is the wages. He's on high wages, and that will continue to be the effort. But if England lose tomorrow because you're on Tifo instead of in the pub, yeah, it will be tough. It'll be tough. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Barca is Nico Williams' preference. Yeah, so yeah, Nico Williams wants to go to Barcelona. Nico Williams absolutely wants to go to Barcelona. The issue is Barcelona can't afford those wages. No way Barcelona pay those wages for him. Barcelona are currently selling chairs, like old seats from their stadium. They're currently selling them for like 200 euros each. They are broke. Barca are broke. So they're not going to go and drop 250, 300 grand a week on Nico Williams' wages, in my opinion. Given that they've got Rafinha, they've got Lamine Yamal, I just don't see them doing that. So, yeah, on that one, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. I just think it'll be very difficult for us to do Williams because of his wages. Elsewhere in that same article, Alexander Zinchenko has 2 years remaining on his Arsenal contract, but has not been offered a new deal, which indicates the club may be prepared to sell him. And I do think Zinchenko goes. I think Zinchenko goes. The fact that we've not offered him a new contract with 2 years left, I think we are certainly prepared to let him go. You know, I do think we are prepared to let him go if the offer comes in. If we don't sign a wide player, why did we let Mario Koscielny go? Surely he would have been given a chance. Well, yeah, you'd assume so, right? You would assume so. Especially if Reece Nelson's going to leave. There would certainly be a space in the squad for him. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Other bits of that article, Arsenal's strategy for the summer is to raise the level of the squad. A necessary part of that is selling players off, with Aaron Ramsdale, Thomas Partey, Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, and Eddie Nketiah all available for transfer. So there you go. Ramsdale, Partey, Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Zinchenko. I mean, there is a lot of money to be raised there. There is a lot of money to be raised out of that group of players. Do all of them go? I mean, we need to start moving, right? If they are going to all get sold, we need to start moving. Because so far we've not sold anyone, you know? Well, sorry, we have. We sold Mika Biereth for 4 million. So there you go. That's what we've done so far. Arsenal want a central midfielder, and one player of interest is Real Sociedad's Mikel Merino. Mikel Arteta is an admirer of his talent and physicality. Merino turned 28 in June, which would place him outside of Arsenal's typical recruitment profile. The relative youth of the squad, however, means they can add more experienced players when required, as they did with both Jorginho and Leandro Trossard. And again, realistically, Marino's just turned 28. He's just turned 28. That's not too old. That's not too old. Thoughts on the Nelson to West Ham rumours? Yeah, so that's the end of everything Gunner Blog said, basically. I might come back to a couple of those bits. According to ex-West Ham United employee, who is he's like the team news and ticks of West Ham, basically. He's definitely sourced up within the club, runs a Patreon. But he said West Ham are becoming increasingly keen on signing Reece Nelson, who Arsenal are willing to sell. There is more to that that's hidden behind the Patreon, and no one wanted to share it. So, yeah, Reece Nelson, West Ham, potentially a move that he could make. Yeah, he's going to go somewhere. Realistically, Reece Nelson ends up at a London club. He ends up at West Ham or Palace or Fulham or Brentford. You know, he's going to end up at one of them. Which one it will be, time will tell. Do you think we will try and sign Musiala? Bayern are signing Simons. Surely it means something. I don't know. I'd love it. I would love to think that we could go and get Musiala, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Merino has 77% pass completion. His progressive passing and shot creation are poor, and his progressive carries are non-existent. Not sure why we are looking at him. He's more defensive, right? Merino won more duels than any other player in the top 7 leagues in Europe last season. I think he's much more of a defensive player. I would assume it would allow Declan Rice to do more with the ball, but I'm not sure. Thoughts on Fabian Ruiz? By the way, Marino's not my first choice. Marino's not my first choice at all. Marino, I said this before. Marino comes in and we get someone else. That if you bring in Marino, that's your long-term Jorginho, except he's very different. But yeah, Marino would not be the guy that I want to bring in that is your guaranteed midfield partner with Declan Rice. Marino's not that guy. He's just not. I don't think he's good enough. Fabian Ruiz has been very impressive this Euros. It has to be said. Fabian Ruiz has been very impressive this Euros. If City can sell some random Donny to Ipswich for 20 million, we should get at least that for Reece. Well, this is what annoys me, right? I have to say, when I saw this morning, it annoys me. So, Man City are selling Liam Delap, who is 21 years old, for 15 million plus 5 million in add-ons. 21 years old. He's never broken into the City team. And they're selling him for, including add-ons, 20 million. And I am fed up of people sitting there and telling me that Arsenal can't do any more. That when we've lost, look at the players that we've lost that are 21 years old that we could be selling, should be selling for money, and we're not. And people say, oh, it's not Arsenal's fault if they don't want to sign a new deal. Yes, it is. At some point along the line, that is Arsenal's fault. Because Chelsea do it, City do it. There are ways of getting good money for youth players, and we aren't doing it. And look, I'm very rarely critical of Arsenal, but that has to be something that we look at. And if you're not looking at it and you want to maintain that this is somehow not Arsenal's fault, like, it is. It is Arsenal's fault. Because other clubs are showing us how to do it. Amari Hutchinson, 20 million to Ipswich. Liam Delap, 20 million to Ipswich. Amario Cozier-Dubry, free to Brighton. Like, I'm sorry, but that you just Liam Delap has done nothing. Liam Delap has not proven anything, and they've gone and got 20 million for him. Now, there is one small element of it. There is one small element of it that I will say will take time, and that is just perception. There is a perception that Man City's academy is by far the best in the world, and therefore, if you're buying a player from Man City's academy, you're guaranteed talent, right? And Cole Palmer has boosted that, if anything, even though, you know, he was on the verge of being a first-team player at City. But we have to work on it. We have to work on it. You know, we're talking about at one point we're talking about selling Ramsdale for 20 million quid. Liam Delap's gone for 20 million quid. Like, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. Arsenal and Man United have terrible reputations in the market. Yeah. I mean, Arsenal's has improved, especially on the buying side. Arsenal's reputation on the buying side has improved. It absolutely has improved because multiple times we refused to go up to what people wanted for our first choice, and we ended up going for a second choice option. And then those second choice options worked. So the buying side, I think we've improved. But selling-wise, we're treated like mugs. We're treated like absolute mugs when it comes to selling players. Still waiting for the Calafiori to Juve dagger. Don't trust these Italians. Surely not. Surely not. I'd be very surprised. Delap and Amari are major funded with agent fees. Remember, City and Chelsea have spent nearly $1 billion on agent fees in the last few years combined. Yeah, but what do you, I don't know. I don't know how much of those are agent fees. But either way, clubs are still. The point is, Ipswich are still willing to spend 20 million on Liam Delap. That's the point. Do you think we will ever buy a player that turns out like Pepe? I'd be surprised. Thoughts on signing Onana and Marino / Fofana for the midfield? None of those three are good enough, in my opinion. So even Onana, like, yeah. All three of those are the options for the second midfielder, not the first midfielder that we buy to put alongside Rice. Onana would be the preference out of those three, but even Onana, I don't think is good enough to be the long-term guaranteed starter next to Declan Rice. Eze, well, stuff's still going on with Eze. I mean, I don't think Eze's that player either because I don't think that's the way that we're going to play. But who is good enough? Bruno Guimaraes, Joshua Kimmich, João Neves, even like a Vitinha. That City player for 20 mil sounds like 116, maybe. Ipswich buy these players because the agents push the players super hard because if getting extra money from City and Chelsea, that's why it happens. Well, whatever they're doing, we should be on it, you know? Orny Bomber about Mason Greenwood. He's going to be sold for more than we sell our youngsters for. That says it all. Yeah. It's interesting, really. Man United making a massive profit off someone like that is a bit dodgy, in my opinion. But Marseille, Mason Greenwood to Marseille. Here we go. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's it. Mason Greenwood's probably going to... I mean, what's he going for? Did he actually say? Did he actually say what he's going for? 31 million euros. That would make him one of our top 5 most expensive sales if we were to do that. To put that into context. Marseille fans are not happy. What? Because of who he is? Don't blame them. Don't blame them. Apparently, the team news is out for France versus Spain. Here we go. The team news is out. Wow, I already see an absolute stink. Okay, Spain, Simon, Navas, Fernandez, Laporte, Cucurella, Olmo, Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, Yamal, Morata, Williams. That's a good team. That is a good team. I guess Navas has had to come in for Carvajal, right? And then France, Maignan, Koundé, Upamecano, Saliba, Hernandez, Kante, Tchouaméni, Rabiot, Dembele, Mbappe, Kolo Muani. He is a donkey. He is an absolute donkey. 0-0 incoming. 1-0 France. 1-0 France incoming. Crazy. Crazy. There you go. There you go. I reckon it'll be France 1-0 and it'll be a horrible goal. You just know France are going to nick a jammy goal. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Navas against Mbappe. Jesus Navas against Mbappe. Could be a long night for him. Could be a long night. Williams is going to cook Upamecano. Saliba should be right centre-back. Well, yeah, but Lamine Yamal's on the other side, so there's difficulty either way, but yeah. I mean, France's defence has been good, to be fair. And at least they've only got Morata to deal with in the middle. I saw a report that Arsenal are considering João Neves for 80 million. If that is reliable, I much prefer that to 80 million for Bruno. I think Neves and an older and experienced midfielder could be ideal. Yeah, I mean, if Neves was doable for 80 million, I think that would be decent. But anyway, a few other little bits and pieces. Relevo, which is a Spanish outlet. Arsenal are looking for a second-choice goalkeeper and have made a call to Real Madrid's Andre Lunin. However, Espanyol's Joan Garcia remains the club's preferred option. So that's an interesting one. We want Joan Garcia from Espanyol. We've spoken about him before. But we have made a call to Real Madrid. We've made a call to Lunin from Real Madrid, which is interesting. This will be the most boring game in the Euros. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. What do you think of giving ESR an extra year on his contract and loaning him to Ajax? He will thrive and excel there and improve his value again, or gives him a run of games to challenge for the first team. Maybe that would be one that Smith Rowe would just be having. Like, Smith Rowe would have to be willing to do that himself. And the risk you run is that you extend it by a year. He goes to Ajax. He actually doesn't break through. And then he loses all of his value at that point. So that would be the risk of it. But anyway, Charles Watts was speaking today. He says it does seem like a defender will have to move on should Ricardo Calafiori arrive. Although right now, it does seem that Calafiori could come in before a departure takes place. The most likely option is that Jakub Kiwior would go. He has a very similar profile to Calafiori, so it's hard to see how they would both be utilised should they be in the squad together. Kiwior is popular at Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta and his coaching staff are happy with the progress he has made. I've seen figures such as 15 million euros mentioned, and quite frankly, that is laughable. Arsenal are already viewed as poor sellers when it comes to the transfer market, and a deal like that would be a terrible precedent to set in a summer when the club are looking to make good money. Charles doesn't really have many sources anymore, I don't think. So that's completely opinion-based, but I think he's probably spot on. I think Jakub Kiwior is going to go. I think anything less than what we paid for Kiwior would be a disgrace. So, yeah, I'd be looking for mid-20 million at least. At least. Did you see the fake Fabrizio tweet about Calafiori? I got faked. Yeah, I did see it. I don't know how people got done by it. I don't. And then finally, Nuno Tavares. Nuno Tavares speaking today. He was asked about whether he's going to fight for his place at Arsenal. And he said, yes, obviously. I have in mind to return to Arsenal and have a good pre-season. Regardless of what happens in the future, I will always do my best, as I have done in all pre-seasons, to have a place at the club. I always try to do my work in the best way. Then it's up to the club to decide whether I'm a valid option or not. But I have a strong mentality. I know what I'm capable of. Sometimes things don't depend on us, but my job is to focus on myself and what I do best. It's not something I think about much, the competition, because we must always have competition. I played for one of the biggest clubs, Benfica, where there was huge competition. Therefore, it doesn't have to be a question of fear of competition because I know my value and I don't let anything affect me. So there you go. That's Nuno Tavares' thoughts. You're getting sold, pal. You're getting sold. But William Delap gives me Ozil vibes. To be honest, I've barely seen him play. I think his name's Liam Delap, though, not William. William threw me off then. I think his name's Liam Delap. But yeah, I've not really seen much of him play. What else do we really realistically expect Tavares to say? Oh, no, obviously Tavares is going to say that. But Tavares just didn't suit us. Tavares just didn't suit us. Look, there's 300 of you here, by the way. If you could all click the like button, you did a fantastic job yesterday of getting to me to 100 likes before the stream ended. So if you could all do the same again, click on the old like button. That would be absolutely sensational. We need 30 million for Kiwior. He got Prem experience and looked quite good. Only Bayern and PSV were his bad games. No, I agree. Like, he came to Arsenal. He developed at Arsenal. He proved that he could be thrown into the depths of a freaking title race playing for Arsenal at left back. And we won basically every game. Like, how does his value decrease? It would be insane. When you consider someone like, remember like Ferran Torres at Man City? They bought him for like 50 million. He wasn't even good for 6 months and they sold him for 60 million. Like, how does this happen? How does this happen? Have you seen Ozil's transformation? He's turning into the Hulk. Yeah, he's a beast. God knows what he's taking, but would Arsenal sell Kiwior to United? Probably not. Not unless you put a lot of money up. Well, this is the issue, right? The issue is all of the interest in Kiwior is coming from Italy, and they are all broke. Like, none of them have money. So that's the issue we've got in selling Kiwior at the moment. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'll be annoyed, though, if we sell him for less than we bought him for. I think that'd be an absolute joke. Arsenal can take De Jong to allow Barca to have the funds for Williams. I would take De Jong. Barcelona always overpays. Yeah, but Barca can't afford to overpay anymore. They just can't. It would be insanity to make a loss on Kiwior. He held his own in the toughest league during a title race while out of position. In no universe should his value have gone down. Totally agree. No, absolutely. Spot on. Heard Inter were interested in Kiwior. Yeah, I've heard like Inter, Juve, Napoli, AC Milan. There is a lot of interest in him, which is another reason we should be making good money on him because they should be battling it out, and that should allow us to demand more money for him. So, would Juve have the money? They were in for Calafiori and he was 50 million. Well, no, but they weren't. That was the thing. Juve have a bit of money, of course, but even with Calafiori, apparently, as soon as it went over like 35 million quid, Juve were out. Juve wanted to pay like 35 million. The thing with a Calafiori, right, is that Juve would normally rely on the fact that an Italian playing in Italy would turn around to his club and say, I want to go to Juventus, nowhere else. Let me go to Juventus. And they would put pressure on them. So, yeah. What's the Williams stuff? Missed it. It's not huge. It came from Gunnerblog. He just said, if Arsenal are to sign a wide player, Nico Williams is Mikel Arteta's preference. Weird how there's never any bidding war for any of our players. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. Juve did just splash out on Douglas Luiz. They spent a fair bit on Douglas Luiz, yeah. And they lost 2 players that they would have otherwise sold. I think the difference between us and, for example, City is that they often sat that they also are okay with keeping. They often say that they're also okay with keeping the player, like Jesus or Zinni, and they always buy the replacement after they sold. Maybe. What's your opinion on Doué? In my opinion, he's an even bigger talent than Musiala. We should be all over him. He's 18 now, can be a homegrown in the future. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are excited by Doué. I've seen him linked heavily to Spurs. It's an interesting one. Do you know what? Honestly, I've really not. I've seen a couple of compilations on Twitter. Like I've not seen him play. Not seen him play. Saw a couple of compilations on Twitter where obviously he looks good because compilations always look good. And I think he had a decent amount of greenery when we looked him up on FOTMob. But yeah, that was about it. Would you like Karl Hayne to start a few games next season? No, Karl Hayne will go out on loan next season. I'm certain Karl Hayne is going to go out on loan next season, which is why we're looking at someone like Dan Bentley as a third choice goalkeeper. How soon do you think we'll announce the signing of Cauliflower from Bolognese? It won't be for a while. In terms of announcing the signing, he's on holiday until the 19th of July anyway. So even if we did sign him, us announcing that signing won't happen for a while, for sure. What happens to Timber if we get Calafiori? Nothing. He doesn't die. Like, he has competition. I think Timber, if Calafiori comes in and is the left back, Timber is the first choice backup at left back, the first choice backup at right back. If either of the 2 centre backs need a rest, one of either Calafiori or Ben White will probably move into the centre, and then Timber comes in. Timber can probably play in midfield. Like, Calafiori could come in and Timber could still easily play 30, 40 games this season. It's just depth. It's all on depth. Will Calafiori be signed in time to have a full preseason with us? Not a full preseason, I wouldn't have thought, because like I said, he's not done with holiday until the 19th. Maybe he'd probably go out to America. He'd probably just about make it out to America. What's Edu doing? No sign on moving for a midfielder or attacker. Okay, I understand the frustration, right? And look, the longer it goes on, the more worrying it will get. However, what if he wants Nico Williams? Can't do anything. He's at the Euros. What if he wants Eze? Can't do anything. He's at the Euros. What if he wants Marino? Can't do anything. He's at the Euros. Until the Euros is done. And even then, some of the players that have only just finished at the Euros are now on holiday. Like, it even happened, I think people forget, it even happened last summer with Declan Rice, where we were waiting for Declan Rice to come back from holiday to make a decision. It's, just because you're not hearing anything doesn't mean nothing is happening, by the way. We didn't know anything was going on with Calafiori until about a week ago. That work on Calafiori would have been getting done long before we heard about it. So, yeah, I don't think we need to worry too much yet. Anyway, it is time for Gapstar Guna, the game where I give you 5 clues about an ex or current Arsenal player, and you have to guess who that player is in the chat. First person to get it right wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community. So get your fingers on your keyboards, because we're starting now. Clue number 1. This player spent 13 years at Arsenal. Clue number 1. This player spent 13 years at Arsenal. Clue number 2, they won 3 Premier Leagues and 4 FA Cups. Clue number 2, they won 3 Premier Leagues and 4 FA Cups. Clue number 3, they made 75 appearances for England. Clue number 3, they made 75 appearances for England. Clue number 4, they moved from Arsenal to Man City in 2003. Clue number 4, they moved from Arsenal to Man City in 2003. And clue number 5, they were famously beaten by Ronaldinho in the 2002 World Cup. Clue number 5, they were famously beaten by Ronaldinho in the 2002 World Cup. There we go. Plenty of you have got it. Plenty of you have got it. There were definitely some people that had seen my TikTok earlier and tried getting in early. I see them. I saw some of those guesses coming in. Davor Suka. That was a guess. That was Lupoli. Yeah. I saw them. I respect it. But the first person to get it right was Ross Lawman. It was indeed David Seaman. It was David Seaman. Congratulations to Ross Lawman for getting it first. Second was El Minister was second. Third, Saliba. Fourth was... wow, where was fourth? Jesus. Mr. Abdu was fourth, and Ethan Udall was fifth. So there you go. Congratulations. VAR? Wait. Check complete? Who said... Why did someone want me to do VAR? Mr. Abdu wants VAR. Mr. Abdu is saying he won. Mr. Abdu, you better be right. Mr. Abdu. You better be right. All right, so Ross Lawman said it here. Before that, Mr. Abdu said smudge. We do VAR checks every day. You've got to do that. Oh, there's a riot. They're rioting. They're rioting in the streets. Smudge was Chris MD's cat, who was a goalkeeper. I mean, it's clearly what he was going for. Mr. Ab gone. No goal. Get him out. Ban him. Wow. They are not happy. Huge right. We've got a riot on our hands. No, unfortunately, Mr. Abdu, you were not first. Unfortunately. But there you go. Oh man, I forgot about Chris MD. Chris MD's still killing it on YouTube, by the way. Anyway, it is time for Guess the Non-Gooner. Guess the Non-Gooner. I'm going to give you the entire career path of a player who does not and has not played for Arsenal. You have to guess who that player is in the chat. First person to get it right wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community, but not as much respect as Ross Lawman currently has. This player started their career at the Newcastle Reserves. They went to Brondby. They went to Galatasaray. They went to Columbus. They went to Liverpool. They went to Blackburn Rovers. They went to Aston Villa. And they went to Tottenham Hotspur. So Newcastle Reserves, Brondby, Galatasaray, Columbus, Liverpool, Blackburn Rovers, Aston Villa, Tottenham Hotspur. That's a tough one, by the way. I do think it's a tough one. That is a tough one. Do we actually have a winner anywhere? Wow. Yes, we do. The winner is Hyper Protagonist. I'm going to give him Brad. It's Brad Friedel. It is Brad Friedel. Hyper Protagonist has gone with Brad. And Anu Brata was second. Eli was third. John P was fourth. And Mr. was fifth. So there you go. No chance I was getting that. It was a tough one. Holy shit, who is that? Respect on the best American goalkeeper of all time. Respect on the best American goalkeeper of all time. Yeah, he was at Newcastle Reserves, yeah. In 1994. 1994. So there you go. Back in the day. Exactly. Even before that, a little bit actually. His prime, really, I would say, was when he was at Blackburn, which was 2000 to 2008. Howard was better. Nah. Brad Friedel was my American goat. Never heard of the twonk. I think he retired before you were born, to be fair, Smithy. But no, that was big from Hyper, by the way. That was big from Hyper. Fair play. Look, anyway, that is going to be the end of this stream. We will be live on Tifo in half an hour's time. Link in the description to Tifo. We'll be going live there to watch France versus Spain. Obviously, we'll continue talking about Arsenal stuff as well. But if you're not joining that, I'll be live on Twitch later on as well to carry on The Walking Dead. By the way, left on an absolute cliffhanger on The Walking Dead last night, so that's going to be fun. Other than that, I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. Please do like, please do subscribe, all the good stuff. Have a good evening. And I will catch you all later. Goodbye.